So, welcome everybody to Coffee with Christy and Crew. This is something that we do every month in our private Be a Boss Facebook group for our clients. And we decided that the information we were sharing was so powerful today, and I'm so excited about our guest that we opened it up to all of you. So thank you for making time. Feel free to come on camera. We'll have hopefully a little bit of time where you guys can ask questions. We have a lot of people today, so you might want to use the chat. And while we're waiting for we've got a few more people popping in, I'm just going to do our monthly announcements quickly. Speaking of going back in person, we are back live teaching again, Stephanie Brackett and I, which we're super excited about. So we will be in Kansas City, May 18th, Fort Mill, South Carolina, June 7th, Atlanta, Georgia, June 14th, Rochester, New York on August 12th. And Brooke, maybe you can drop the link in the chat for classes that people are interested in. And clients who are on the call, make sure you checked your email because you have advanced access to the Ops Boss Leader Retreat tickets right now. And we'll be opening those tickets to the public on May 11th. And that's for our fifth annual, so excited about that, Ops Boss Leader Retreat, which is a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for business and personal growth for operations leaders only. All ops, by ops, for ops. So with that, commercials over, I am going to introduce you to one of my dearest friends in the entire world. We actually met at a Recruit Select class 10 years ago, and sat next to each other and did life story practice with each other. And she was such an amazing person. At that time, she was leading a team of, I think, 1 agent and getting ready to hire her first admin in Knoxville, Tennessee. And she now is the Texas regional partner for Ben Kinney Teams and Place. And in 2021, her team closed more than $6 million in GCI. So she has had quite a journey. So Adelina, welcome to Coffee with Christy. And I don't know if you want to just kind of set the stage and give us a little bit of your background. Let's just start with that.
Ooh, I love how we met at Recruit Select. Like, how appropriate is that we're talking about recruiting and that's where we met. I love that.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
I am Adelina. I'm in Austin, Texas. Anytime you're here, please DM me and let me know that you're here. I'd love to grab lunch with you. I've been here in Austin 6 years now. Before that, I was a team leader for Mo Anderson in Oklahoma City. Before that, like Christy said, I had a small team, and I was in Knoxville, Tennessee. Like, I've come a long way, like tiny little town. I get to live in a big city now, like Austin. Before that, I was an independent agent. Like, I wanted to make a lot of money. That was kind of like my thought. And before that is how I got into real estate. My marketing teacher said, "Hey, there is a real estate job called the front desk. Do you want it?" And I was 16 and I thought that sounded amazing. So yeah, like, that's pretty much it. I have 2 kids. You'd probably want to know about that. So I have a pretty busy lifestyle. Been married 16 years this year, and my parents are from Eastern Europe. So I'm first generation here with them, and they basically gave up their entire life so that I had better opportunities. So probably my driving factor is not just to make my parents proud and make myself proud, but all the opportunities that we have here are just immense compared to the opportunities like that 99% of the world do not have. And I'm very aware of it, and I take it really seriously. So I take my work really seriously. I don't take myself seriously at all.
So I want to jump on that opportunity. That's exactly where we're going today. So I want to take you guys back in time. It's 2016. Adelina is moving to a new state, a new city. She does not have a real estate license in this state. She does not have a sphere of influence in this state. And it's 2016, and she decides, she and Ben Kinney together, she's the very first expansion partner who has proven the model. And they decide, gosh, I think I'll build a real estate team. Now, obviously, to do that, we've got to do recruiting. So let's kind of go back in time. And I want to talk a little bit about 2016 to 2021. What were your challenges kind of during each stage? You sort of had a couple of stages. What were the challenges? What did you focus on? And what did you learn at each of those stages? So the first was you moved to Austin. It's 2016.
Yeah, I love that question because life is a series of stages, right? Who we are today isn't who we were 5 years ago, and vice versa. So definitely had stages to all of this. 2016, moved here. I knew a few people. I knew like other realtors, but they weren't going to be very helpful in helping me build my business, right? I didn't know the market. I didn't even know where to move to. That was probably the challenge, right? So to be able to build a business big enough, fast enough in a market like Austin, Texas, that is highly competitive, I would say it's similar to like maybe a Seattle type of market. I needed to talk to enough people to build a sales force that was big enough that would have even a chance of succeeding, right? And so I talked to 300 people to be able to get my first 10, right? So 300 people is a lot of people. I did that in October, November, and December of 2015 so that I could launch January 2016.
I'm out. I just want to point that out. 300 people in 3 months you talked to. Because I think that's something I hear from our clients a lot of. We're trying to recruit and it's like I'm maybe talking to one person a week. So I want people to hear those numbers. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you don't have a lot of people that you know in a place, then you kind of gotta start like from the bottom, honestly. And people always ask me, well, what was your script? And they think that I had a great script, and it really wasn't. It was. Have you ever thought about a career in real estate? Like, guys, it's as simple as it could be. My number one agent, Maria, she was probably contact number 30 something in that mix, right? And Maria, oh my goodness. We've probably done, I don't know, $3-4 million of GCI together in that time period, right? So it is a numbers game, especially at the beginning. And the reason I wanted to talk to so many was because I chose not to be in sales in Texas, right? That was a significant choice that I made. And if I was going to choose not to be in sales, then somebody's got to do the sales. And I wanted to find people who wanted to do sales, right? And so my aha with that during that time period is you really literally could start from scratch anywhere. You can move yourself anywhere in the world and you can start from scratch, and you're just 5 years away from whatever you want to achieve. And then 2017 and 2018 happened. This is a different season, not as proud of a season. Some good things happened, right? Like number one, decided to focus on productivity versus recruiting. So recruiting came second, productivity came first. I only hired 4 people that entire 2017. Do you know what happens when you hire only 4 people? Not good things, I can tell you. We were flat in 2017 and 2018 in revenue and profit. And so my aha was that, recruiting creates problems, right? Like the problem that it created for me was I needed now to spend time with all these people, right? And we were running out of office space and, things like that. And sometimes the agents were like, well, why are we hiring people? All of those things. And they're all valid. What is also valid is when you don't recruit, you have a complete stall in your business. And so not recruiting consistently creates even bigger problems, right? Like, was it a problem that I didn't have enough office space? Sure. Was it a bigger problem that I didn't have revenue in order to get more office space? Yeah, even bigger problem. So 2019 through today, I think is kind of where I was like, oh, that didn't work. Let's not do that again. And so I focused on 3 things that I feel like are probably like the driving success factors now. Who I want to attract. I got real clear on my process, and I got real clear on my value proposition so that I attracted the right people, not the complainers, and the people that wanted to grow, and they felt like growing is fun and good versus, oh my God, why are we hiring another agent? So that's kind of been the last little bit.
So that's the past 5 years. And now we're going to get in. I know a lot of you guys have really nitty gritty questions. Who are you recruiting? Where are you finding them? All that stuff. But before we dive into that, what is your mindset in 2022 around recruiting? If I am a rainmaker on this call, or I'm an ops boss who's supporting recruiting, what is the mindset that they need to have?
My first mindset is I just in front of my desk, I have recruiting equals profit, right? Like I have to constantly remind myself that recruiting equals profit. Today's recruiting is actually tomorrow's profit. So next year's profit. So recruiting is my number one domino. Because of that, my team's number one domino is retention. So we're very clear in our lanes for us. Another mindset that I have that's been helpful to me is new agents turn into top agents. I'm very clear that the top agent in my business 5 years from now is probably not on my team today. And so what I'm robbing myself and my team and the community, honestly, of when I don't hire and I don't recruit the right people is that top person is not going to be, at least not in my world, maybe not even in real estate, which would be terrible. There's 3 C's that I follow. So my mindset around recruiting is around 3 C's. If you want to write them down, it's consistency, clarity, and close. So consistency, what that means to me is that's my competitive advantage. It's not that I'm smarter, better, none of those things, honestly. I'm very consistent. If you say it enough times and you say it the same way, you get results. So I use the same script format every single time. I literally, guys, I read it off the computer. I was doing a recruit appointment last night at 5 and it was on my computer. I do not try to go from memory. It's not that I don't believe in myself or I don't even have it memorized. It's just I'm not going to allow anything to get in my way. So I deviate from the process. I am very process oriented.
So let's just throw in there. The reason why you can do that is because you're doing your interview on the phone.
Oh, yes. I always
which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's all on the phone. So anyway, with that, so consistency. On the topic of consistency, there have been times where I've had intensity versus consistency. And that intensity does not solve consistency problems. We see it with our agents. It's the exact same thing in recruiting. Clarity. The way I define clarity is clarity on who I want, clarity on my personal value proposition, our team's value proposition, and clarity on my interview process. So I'm doing things the same way every single time. Closing. What I'd write down next to this one is with confidence, right? And so what that means is my qualifying interview, which is the first interview, that's when I decide whether I want them. Then the next interview is an in-depth interview. And that's when I decide whether they're a fit for my team, right? And then their answers to all of that is how I close them. I tie everything back to what they said. So closing with confidence. Another mindset of how you start out isn't how you finish, right? Remember, any of our agents who have written their first contract and it takes them 3 hours and you're like, God, I hope they get it because this is going to be horrible for them. And now they can do it in 10 minutes on the hood of their car. It is the exact same way, right? So 300 contacts in 2016, that's great to get my first 10. Now I could probably talk to 2 people a week to be able to hire 1 to 2 consistently every single month.
So that's still talking to 100 people a year, which I would still bet that most people listening here are not doing that. But what that consistency has done for you is taken you to mastery in the past 5 years. Because if you count how many calls you've done, you're mastering your scripts, you're mastering your close, you're mastering your confidence, all the things. That's what the number of calls moves you to.
I agree. And I would add that it really solves a lot of your problems. And what I mean by that is even right now we're hiring for a new staff member, right? And Sharon, our director of operations, has me scheduled with 3 of our top people, right? Even there, we're looking at different people because who's the shiny apple when you only got 1 apple? But when you can look at 3, 5 apples, man, all of a sudden you can see the one that really shines for your business. And so you're really doing yourself a favor by talking to enough people.
Tanya, yes, the answer is 2 calls per week is what she's doing now to hire 1 to 2 per month, not 2 per month, 1 to 2 per month.
Yeah, there's some months when I might get even 3, it could have been just an amazing month. And yet there's some months where it's just 1.
So on average. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got a lot of ops people on this call. So now we're going to talk about who, how, and where, and the details. So everyone wants to know, okay, are you following career visioning? What is your process? What are the skills you're looking for? What are the habits or the intangibles you're looking for? And then how do you determine whether they really have it and are saying they have it versus whether they really have it? So let's talk about your process.
Okay. So as Christy
You
said,
blew me away when you told me you don't even meet them.
I don't. Okay, so good. And the reason is, that I now have like people, which is awesome. But so we'll start with the pre-qualifying interview, right? The pre-qual interview is important, and it's 15 to 20 minutes long. I have a series of 6 questions, and those questions are around hungry, humble, smart, and enthusiastic. And the goal there is, do I want to work with them? And just as important, if they will find joy working on a team, right? Not everybody's going to find joy working on a team. And I'm not trying to convince people. I'm trying to see if they're already a natural fit. The way I determine humble, right? Or what does humble mean to me, right? Like, that's a heart to serve. Hungry, it's not that they're like, they need money. Like, that's fine if they need money. Like, I've been there. I understand that. But hungry means that they're self-motivated and they're diligent. That's what it means to me. Smart. It's not that their IQ is off the charts, or even EQ. They may need a little coaching on that sometimes. But what it means to me is smart is they are appropriate and they are aware, right? Which means that they can work in a team environment. Enthusiastic is, what have they done and what do they want to do? Like, it's really hard to motivate people. Like, it's not worth it. Like, if they're not already motivated, I'm super not interested. I do this all over the phone, and here's why. The second I can see their face, I'm such a people pleaser. I will see Christy and I'll want to hire Christy. I just believe everything she'll tell me. Christy's awesome, but you know what I mean, right? So let's say that I'm not feeling that interview, which oftentimes I don't feel it. I'm like, okay, their answers to my questions, and Christy, I can share the questions with you. Their answers to their questions, I'm like super not interested. They're not going to be a fit. Then I would say, Christy, this is awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I think I've got everything that my team needs for this. And so I will be in touch later this week via email. I've got a few more interviews to go through. I really super appreciate your time. That's why it can be 15, 20 minutes, because it's a clear end to the conversation. There's no like, what are your splits? None of that conversation. But let's say I'm on the phone and I'm like, I really like this person. I'll go directly into the qualifying interview. And the qualifying interview is around a dozen questions, right? And a dozen questions around what they want in a partnership, around the culture that they're seeking, around the leader that they're seeking, around how they prefer to handle stress, around how they prefer to set goals, around how they feel they are with tech and what feels comfortable to them, how they imagined that they were going to build a business when they started this whole thing. What full-time looks like to them, right? Full-time to me might mean, all the time. It might mean 30 hours to them. Kind of what they're looking for, like paint a picture of what the ideal scenario is. And then my goal there is to determine if my environment is a match for what they're looking for, right? So every answer that they give is what I use as ammo to close them. Or if they're not a good match, to just say, I completely understand where you're coming from. I have some team recommendations I can make for you. Either way, I'm coming from a servant's heart. It's just whether they're on my team or someone else's team.
And I want to point out, you're very intentional about the environment that you want and that you have created and that you live on your team. So when you're asking and determining, do they fit into my environment, you're very clear on what that environment is. And I think that's a gap I see sometimes.
Yeah, and here's why. And sometimes I do get a little bit of pushback because they can sense that like I'm like letting them off. The reality is yes, I'm protective of our culture, but it's not even that. We spend 8-10 hours a day with people sometimes, right? Like we know what's going to work and we know what's not going to work. And I can tell you, like in my environment, like if somebody doesn't show signs of like they're a hard worker, like that's just not going to work because I'm a hard worker. Like it would feel weird if we're not compatible. It's kind of like if you were to date, like, I mean, I've never been on Tinder or anything. I'm like way too old for that. But But like, if there's no compatibility, why try to make it work, right? Just let people loose. And that's the beauty of talking to enough people, because I'm telling you, the right people show up and you're like, oh, this is good. This is good. So when you have the moment, then I send them a follow-up email. And that follow-up email is only sent after I do a follow-up question as like kind of a close. So let's say I'm feeling that like, okay, like I love Brooke, I like where this is heading. My closing question is often, you know, on a scale to 1 to 10, Brooke, how excited are you about this potential partnership? And if she says 9 or a 10, I schedule an in-person with my director of sales. If I sense that they're not bought in, right? Even before I ask the question, if I sense, or if they say that they're like a 7, then I just say, you know, it sounds like you're doing your due diligence. That's super important. I respect it. I'll send you some follow-up questions you can ask other teams and other brokerages, so that you are able to make this important decision the right way. And at some point, if we become your top 1 or 2, I'd love to reconnect so that you can meet the team and you can meet our director of sales. So if they're not,
I just want to point out, if you guys are listening, Adelina has already dropped multiple scripts. This will be posted on YouTube next month so that you can go back and just listen to these scripts again. She's very purposeful in the language that she uses. So for example, in that script you just said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about our potential partnership? Partnership is a really important word in your world, right?
Yeah, so no one is joining your team. Who wants to join your team? Like people who can't do it on their own. That's not cool, right? That's not what you want. Those are not forever people. Forever people are people who partners. Like I didn't say to John, my husband, hey babe, like you can join my team, right? No, like we decided to get married, to have a partnership. In the same way, using words like partnership allows like that whole like issue with teams to like be completely like separated from you. You're not a team. You are a business, and you are getting into partnership with people who are on the same path as you are. And because you're both on the same path, that creates retention, that creates harmony, that creates alignment, right? Okay, so I'll take you back through the process because I can go on, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so my follow-up email to the people that I do like, here's what it includes, and I send it every single time. It's an FAQ around how commission works on our team, how health insurance works on our team, whether they can work with buyers and sellers, how much money they can expect to make, our track record, like a lot of like bullet points. And this came from like the kinds of questions I would get all the time that would derail the process. And then I no longer had control of the process anymore because they were just like deviating from what I was going to do.
So that's a really important point I want to just emphasize. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but you're making so many points so fast. You are controlling the conversation. You are proactive, not reactive. You are controlling this, and you're not talking about all the things that everybody asks. How do you handle splits? How do you handle this, that? You're handling that with a follow-up email.
I am. And so like, for example, let's say it came up, like people like sometimes ask, I'm super confident in my like conversation pieces that they usually don't, but if they do, then I say, you know what? I get that question a lot. I actually have it in a follow-up email for you. I'm going to go ahead and send it right after this phone call so that you can review it. You can see it on paper. You can start like asking me questions. I'm happy to jump on another call once you've had a chance to review all of the questions, all the FAQs, in addition to our career opportunity guide, in addition to our leverage guide, and in addition to our 2022 economic guide, right? And so then it's not just a split conversation anymore. It's the entire value that they're looking at all in one place. Does that make sense?
I love that follow-up email because it differentiates you in terms of professionalism, in terms of what the conversation is from any other team or agent that they're interviewing with. Lovely. All right.
Okay, so the next process is they do meet in person. There is an in-person place for all this. Like we don't just hire people off the street, but my director of sales meets with them. Before I had a director of sales, I was the director of sales for 4 years and a lot of other things. But director of sales What he does when they meet with them, he introduces them around the office, anybody that's in the office. We don't usually tell people that we're going to have anybody meeting. It's just whoever's in that day, which is important to have like good people so that you always have good people in. Just kind of a get to know you conversation, have an expectations conversation of what it looks like to have a real estate career on our team. Picture of how $0 to $100,000 in their first year happens. Details on our launch program and the next steps. And if he wants them, he has final authority. It's really important that whoever is hiring, who does these in-persons, has final authority. Otherwise, I don't know that it would work as well. He has final authority to close them if he likes them. So again, it's on a scale 1 to 10. How excited are you about this partnership? No longer a potential partnership at that point, right? And if they say 9, 10, 20, whatever, he'll say, great, that's how I feel too. Adelina's going to go ahead and send you an offer letter today. I'm so excited about getting started. If he doesn't really want them, like that sometimes happens, he'll say, all right, well, I appreciate your time. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Just kind of nicely wrap them up, walk them out. Like there's no harm, no foul, guys. The next process in this would be our director of operations. She has a phone meeting to review prerequisites to start with our team, which that includes 200 in their sphere list, setting up their brevity, setting up the brokerage stuff, the MLS stuff. Like when they start day one, they are ready to run. We're not doing those things on day one. Let me see what else.
People always ask us about, are you doing DISC? Are you doing KPA?
Yeah, we do. But not in the process most people do. Most people use it to hire. We use it to coach. So during the onboarding process, we send them a DISC, we send them the KPA. And the reason for that is we have such a diverse group. People are going to succeed with us because they're hard workers. Now, how they go about it, like that's going to be up to them and our director of sales. But at the end of the day, the value system that I'm looking for, that's not going to be found on a DISC, and it's not going to be found on a KPA. Those are tools for me or for Casey or anybody in my organization of how to work with them. I'm looking for hard workers. I'm looking for people who lead by example. I'm looking for people who value teamwork. I'm looking for people who are humble. I'm looking for people who want to build wealth and want to build a career. If they're looking for a paycheck, my team is not the right fit for them. If they're looking for a career, my team is the best fit for them. I truly, truly believe that.
You guys see how clear she is about who she's looking for. It just comes out and it's black and white at this point. Were you that clear in the beginning?
I mean, I was clear on I help people make money. But no, you become clear by doing it. It's like our agents going on listing appointments. Like when something falls flat, you're like, oh, never going to say that one again. Right. And then you do it enough, and then you know what works and what doesn't work. Somebody asked, and I can't really see chat, but I saw just like the beginnings of it. Like if they push back on splits or something like that.
I was just going to you have a great script around that. Can you script us through that quickly?
Yeah. So generally what I hear is, one of our competitors has a good split situation, right? And they'll say, I always ask who else they're interviewing with that they love. Like that's an important question. You want to know your competition. Like that is just as important as knowing their goals. You want to know who else they're talking to. And so then if they are talking to like one of my competitors that I know is like pretty decent, I know the question about splits is coming up, so I might handle that one a little bit different. And I might say something like, Christy, that's an awesome question. I love that question. I get it all the time. I really choose not to look at it as splits. We actually don't have a team. We have a partnership. And what that partnership looks like is, if you pick up the book, MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And in fact, if you don't have time to read the whole thing, I'm going to actually go ahead and screenshot you page 157, which is a really important page. And page 157, when you read it, it'll show you a $6 million business, a $15 million business, a $25 million business. And these are all great businesses. And you'll be able to see at the bottom the profit margin of every single one of those businesses, right? Because it takes money to make money. We all know that. And so I'll tell you, on our team, our commitment is that you have one of the highest profit margins in the industry. In fact, 17 of my 21 agents made over 6 figures in income last year. And how that's done is through partnership, where you're focusing on the dollar productive activities so that you are able to do 80% more than someone that on their own would be able to do. So someone on my team who has a $25 million business, I know the standard is like 39% profit margin. The standard on my team is a 50% profit margin. Here's how a commission check would look like. Say you get $10,000 for that sale, the brokerage actually gets it. None of us actually get it. It's the brokerage who gets it. They get that 10 grand, boom. 5 grand goes to us, 5 grand goes to you. We are a 50-50 partnership. Of that 50%, that is your profit margin. Of the 50% that comes to the business, half of it goes to expenses, half of it goes to our profit margin. And Ben and I split that 50-50. Our business is super simple. We are focused on you making sure that you have the highest profit margin. In return, you want to go take 10 listings a month, we can support that all day long. We take on 99.9% of all of your expenses to build your business. We're basically your bank.
Do you see the level of conversation that Adelina is having with her people is completely different than any other agent is having with their recruits? And people grow into the conversations you have around them. These are the conversations you're having all the time, not just in recruiting, but with your team. It's a very different world. So I just wanted to, that 39% versus 50% is an amazing script. So you guys can rewind the YouTube later and listen to that. I want to go into where are you finding people? How are you finding people? Are you hiring new to the business? Are you hiring experienced? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Just really quick, I'll go back. If I continue to get pushback on it, I'll just say something like, it sounds like you might want to sell maybe 5-6 homes a year on your own. And really, we're not the team for that. And it's just a really nice, my team is built for top producers. And top producers, the one thing they all have in common is they understand economics. And economics means that they understand that it takes money to make money, and we front all of that. And together, 1/3 of their business comes from their sphere and their database, 1/3 of their business comes from us, and 1/3 of their business comes from working the business plan that we create together. It is a real win-win, and it sounds like you might be into this as a hobby, and I think that's really fun, but it's just not our environment. So that's how I would handle that. Early years, I was 100%, I didn't know anybody. So all my people were on Indeed, and I reverse prospected on Indeed and ZipRecruiter, just with the, have you thought about a career in real estate question.
So she noticed that she was active, not passive, not putting an ad waiting for people to come in, but actively going after people by reverse prospecting. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, my top agent was working for, in marketing for a builder. She had just graduated college and she was working, and she didn't respond to my ad. I don't know if she even saw it. I just reached out to her, right? And so that was Maria. Kudos, Maria. Awesome. Currently, I always have one ad on Indeed running at all times. I like to keep my pipeline full, right? People are always moving to our areas all the time. People are always wanting to make a change all the time. You want to be the person that they see when that right time happens for them, right? It's kind of that's the equivalent of an agent reaching out to their database. These are people I don't know, so I have to be out there so people can see me and can find me. Right now, my team is a big source of my talent leads. My neighbors, I live in a nice area and I talk to my neighbors all the time. And then my brokerage leaders, I really lean on the people who I'm paying, essentially. And I say that in a nice way, but they're there to source talent, and I want to be in good relationship so that they can help me source talent. 3 things that help me with this, if you want to write them down. The number 1 thing is telling my agents stories. The number 2 thing is going to be my database of influencers. And number 3 is going to be incentivizing the team. So the way I think about it is, when telling stories, it's more powerful than anything to talk about what your agents are doing, not what your team's doing and what your company's doing. The world doesn't care about that. The world cares that Susie, in her first 6 months, has helped 4 people already, and she's got 3 more in the pipeline that she's going to help. And who else can we help like Susie? Like, that's awesome, right? That feels good. So you want to go small to go big, right? Like, get your agent stories versus like your team stories. Nobody cares about those. And they'll resonate better. Like last night, a few of my team members went to a Justin Bieber concert, and that's what I posted last night. I mean, I wasn't even there. I just like grabbed their photo and I said something like, my team is having their Bieber, best life. And it was just a picture of them enjoying the Bieber concert. I mean, I don't even really know who Justin Bieber is.
If you're not following Adelina on Instagram, follow her now at Adelina Rotar and follow her stories, because she does an amazing job.
It's not only about like real estate sales, because at the end of the day, it's not only like money doesn't make people happy. It makes them unhappy if they don't have it, but it doesn't make people happy in the end, right? And so the important thing is, like, I want to build 5-star careers that they can enjoy and have the time to enjoy. So I want to attract those people. So like when I post about like somebody having their best life, like it's very strategic. Okay, database of influencers. Think about your agents. They have to build a database, right? They have their sphere of influence. I have my recruiting sphere of influence, like the people in my city, in my community who just know people, right? Like it could be my title reps, it could be mortgage people, it could be the people at my brokerage, and even people who don't have teams who are just really well connected. And the important thing there is to find your first 5. Right? Have a list of 5 people who are really tight knit with you, that can really connect you with people. Make sure that they know who you're looking for. For me, I went from having 5 to I have 12 people now that source talent with me. And here's why this is important. I just don't have enough time in a day to do it all myself, but man, that burden becomes so much lighter when other people are also working with you, right? And incentivizing agents, we do have an incentive program for our agents. That's really important, I think, to incentivize people like when they do good work for you. Ultimately, here's what I want you to hear with all of this. You're going to attract that which your team is. So I hire owners, not renters. What that means is if you hire renters, right, people who rent your team to get ahead, you'll have retention issues, right? If you hire owners, those are the people that will build this business with you, because their preferred path, your preferred path, it's in the same direction. You're in alignment and you're looking at all of this as a long-term partnership. So renters join your team so that they can get ahead. Owners partner with teams to build a career and a big life. That's kind of what it looks like today.
Tanya, that answers, we had a question in chat around how do you handle people who I just want to be on a team for a couple years that's the answer to the question.
Zero interest.
Okay.
Not from an ego standpoint either. Like my team just isn't built for people who wants to just come in for a second. Like who would ever like date somebody who says, you know what, not real interested in anything long-term, but like the benefit of it?
No friends with benefits.
That. No, we are not business partners with benefits. We are business partners.
Love it. Okay. New agents, experienced agents. What's your thought around that?
I hire mostly new. And the reason is I have got my playbook really dialed in. Like it's what I do really well. So I think whatever you do really well, keep doing what you're doing really well and then add to it. It's probably led to strong retention for me. 12 of my agents have been with me 4 or more years, and it hits different, I think. When you hire somebody and they start at 0 and then they earn 400,000 with you, it's different when you can say that every 3 years an agent makes $1 million with you. Like that buys a lot of loyalty, right? At the same time, I believe loyalty is earned every day, right? Like I wake up every day wanting to deliver for my people. But the roots of that loyalty like are already there when you develop them. And then my job is to nurture it. So I prefer new agents personally.
Yeah, your ability to impact goes way beyond the financial. From what I've seen from the outside, you're impacting people's quality of life, their relationships, their future, their legacy, their family, all of the things in a much more tangible way. Okay, so let's talk about how. I hear people like, oh, in 30, 60, 90, they should be fully in production in 90 days, blah, 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 all of that. First of all, what does fully in production look like for you? What kind of onboarding standards? What are the activities around that?
If anybody has a plan where they get their people fully in production in 90 days, my email is adelina@benkinney. Please teach me. The reality is, first 90 days, we average 3 pieces of business. 3 pieces of business, what that means is either a buyer, seller, or a pending, right? The first 90 days is mostly about getting into the right habits, the right routines, and the right activities to guarantee success. As a result of doing those things, they should have 3 pieces of business follow: pending, a buyer, or a seller, or any combination of that. The next 90 days, the magic starts happening. Because they've been consistent in their activities, we usually see double that. We start seeing 6 pieces of business in their next 90 days, either a buyer, a seller, or a pending, right? It's important for them, like the next 90 days is really important. It's important to them to see a light at the end of the tunnel. People have to make money, right? Well, like we said, money doesn't make you happy, but not having money makes you very unhappy, right? And so we average 100,000 in net income between month 9 and 18. We offer health insurance at unit number 25 or 250,000 total GCI, not their cut, but total GCI. So that's kind of like the base level that everybody is trained for. It goes back to my FAQ that they read. Like all of this is on there. Like we're kind of setting like, okay, here's the next pit stop. Here's the next base camp. They're very clear on what that looks like. And the reason 25 units is important to me and that path is 2 closings a month. That's consistent income. The worst thing is to have 4 closings 1 month and 0 the next 2 months, right? $250,000 of GCI on our splits is $10,000 a month for them. That's a good income, right? So, to all of this, when I didn't have leaders, right? For the first 4 years, it was me, myself, and I doing all this. I was just doing it all. I worked more hours, right? Like that's kind of what happens. But also when I didn't hire leaders, you know what happened? I stalled. I saw that 1.5 million to 2 million, couldn't get past it. So it's really important that there's some leverage that is able to be added on. For me, as the director of sales.
Okay, so I want to dial back to first 90 days about getting in, because this is the piece I see missed all the time. Right habits, routines, and activities in the first 90 days. So a lot of people listening are on smaller teams. They're not on larger teams, they're on smaller teams. And I believe that an ops person can help in this area because they are consistent. You are a consistent person. That is like your superpower that I know you have from behind the scenes. Most rainmakers are not as consistent as you. So, but if the 2 of them are working together on right habits, routines, and activities, what are those right habits, routines, and activities in the first 90 days?
Oh, so for us, it's you're coming into the office. You're coming in 8:30 to 12:30 every day, Monday through Thursday, so that you can come to Power Up at 8:30 to 9 o'clock every day, so that you can level up with the team, your dialogues and your scripts and your training. From 9 to 12, you are lead generating or lead following up, and the first week is you're going to call all your sphere, and we have the script for you, and we practice it with you, and then you're going to do 1,000 dial a day, so you can get all the jitters out and handle all of that on the front end, and not have it be like this one thing that you're scared of the phone all the time. And then we're going to open up our Pond account to you so that you can call through our old leads. Then we're going to teach you how to do expireds and prospecting and circle prospecting, so that when you have a buyer, you can find inventory that's not already on the market. We're going to teach you, I think week 3, how to do open houses. You're going to shadow all along all of this process. But the important thing is that we're going to start to see a pattern. And that pattern is you're going to be adding 10 people to your database every week past that first 200, right? And then when you start doing that, we also give you leads, right? It's not an automatic, right? This is a partnership. Like I don't owe you anything, you don't owe me anything, but together we can build something really big. So I'm looking for the pattern of 10 people added to your database. If you're not doing that, there's something missing. Like your script might be off. There's something we've got to work through, because you're doing open houses without a result. You're calling without a result. You're reaching out to people without a result. You're out in the community without a result. So really it's building the habits of consistency, essentially.
And during those first 4 years, when you were basically director of operations, director of sales, rainmaker, all of the things, what did coaching / accountability conversations look like for those agents? Like they're in their first 90 days and the numbers aren't happening, or they are happening. What are you even talking about in those conversations?
Man, that's a hard question for me, because I have these conversations like all day. It's not even I wouldn't even wait until like the coaching conversation. So yeah, I'm like trying to think of like how to answer this. No, if I see like the call, like our VAs send a call report every day of like who, like it's not even about calls. Like, don't misunderstand me. But like, I'm not telling people they have to prospect all day. What I am saying is, if you're in real estate and you don't talk to people, there's a problem. Like, there are no paychecks. There's no commission without a contact, right? I don't care how you have conversations. Phone is just a fast way to do it. It's very efficient. But I see those call lists come through, and it's either the carrot or the stick. The carrot looks like going on Slack and saying, congratulations to blah, 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 blah person. And they're doing amazing in this, or congrats that they just did this, and like everybody should rise up to that. Or it'll be, Mallory, this is the second week in a row that we've had low contacts. What's going on, girlfriend? I will not wait for a coaching thing. That would be a lot of pressure on me to like try to like make it so perfect. It's really in the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to skip up to differentiating yourselves. How do you like, I'm an agent. I'm a new to the business. I just got my license. I'm interviewing a bunch of teams. I know now Ben Kinney Place has a huge value proposition. Take me back, and maybe it's the same, but how are you differentiating yourself in the early days? You were in Austin, Texas. No one knew who Ben Kinney was. Well, realtors did, but no one in outside the real estate community knew who he was. How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. What you do today is what you build on for tomorrow, right? And so I walked into a market center that had 72 teams. I didn't realize it. Maybe I would have chosen a different market center. But with all that said, I identified, and I would always say it this way, like after I've gone through an interview process, it was really important to give people the sound bites that they needed to go home with to their significant other and sell the team. Because if they Googled us, they'd be like, who the heck are these people? So I'd give them the sound bites. At the beginning, it would sound something like, hey, Christy, I'm so happy we got to connect today. I really feel like this might be a fit. And if you have a second, I'd like to talk about the 3 things that make us different, not better, but different. So the first one, Christy, is I'm a non-competing broker. So all the leads that come into the team, they all go to the team. And that's not really typical, but that certainly makes us different. So we're super committed to building your business. The number 2 thing is we have a hybrid model. Typically, you would only get to work with buyers, but we believe your Texas real estate license works for buyers and sellers, potentially luxury and commercial one day as well. So that means we're going to teach you how to work with sellers and buyers, and you're going to be able to build a big business. And number 3, Christy, I actually don't take a salary. So that means my 100% commitment is ensuring that I grow your business so that we can all win, right? That's what it had to sound like early on, because I had nothing. We didn't even have Ben Kinney team email addresses. That took like 2 weeks. It was like so horrible and embarrassing. You guys are way ahead of where I was there. Today, I do all those things. Those things are still true. But I add different things on, right? I'll say something like, okay, so Christy, we closed 215 million last year, which means that you will always have open house opportunities with us. And we have a pond account that you can start calling pretty much right away to turn leads into business for yourself, commission checks just as soon as possible. 17 of our 21 agents earned 6 figures, with the average being 173 in their bank account last year. Like, I'm super excited about that. That's really a reason that you would want to partner with us. The partnership opportunity isn't just an opportunity to sell real estate. Your opportunity on our team is to be me. We have an entire model for you to grow your business as big as you want it. And if you one day want to be me, that is open to you. So like, I'm always adding on to there's sound bites though, guys. Like, that's the important thing. they're sound bites.
And is this part of your qualifying interview where you're having this when is this conversation happening?
This conversation is after I had my in-depth interview. Say, I just talked, like my last question is always, who else are you interviewing with? And before I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give them a couple sound bites so that it can tie it all in together for them. Like a natural part of any presentation is a close, and an interview is a presentation. And without a close, it just falls flat.
So much gold. Okay. So our whole call today was about recruiting. Mm-hmm. And you've moved from recruiting to attracting.
Okay.
What contributed to that shift? Because I think everyone's goal should be into being an attractor and not a recruiter. What contributed to that shift? How did that happen? How are you building on that now?
I remember something that Mo Anderson would say. She would say that you can't light a fire with a wet match. And so I took that to heart. So the first thing that I did was deliver all my promises. And what that meant to me was that my agents were going to get into production, right? So once people start succeeding, then I just consistently shared their successes, right? That's how you can move from recruiting to attracting, right? Like use the people's success to add more success to your team. I also do something called Life of an Agent. It's something where I share, like say Brooke referred somebody to me. Like every time that Brooke's person did something great, like I'm going to let Brooke know. And it sounds something like this. I just did it this week. I was like, hey, Mallory, I wanted to let you know that Jose penned a number 5 and he is on track for his goal of $109,000 this year. It's so exciting. Mallory, you are changing lives, and I am just so proud to be in business with you. And I'm so grateful for all the referrals that you send me, right? Who else can I help get these kind of results, that sort of thing, right? So the person that's sending me a talent referral, they're not just like a person that's like sourcing talent. They are part of like the success of this agent, and they feel part of it. Like I have this for like years with some of them. Like my director of sales was a team leader referral when he was like a brand new agent, right? And like you can imagine how big their heart is now that like he's succeeding. So I think we moved from recruiting to attraction when our value proposition, our care, right, developing the agent, and our candor, like making sure that they were accountable to what they said they were going to do, when all of those 3 were in alignment, right? And then I think the magic starts to show up when you look at your business and you identify, do I have a third top agents, a third developing agents, and a third rookie agents? Then you have a really solid business that people are attracted to, and then you don't have to recruit. It's just a different world.
I think I'll add one more thing on that I've observed from the outside, which is we talked earlier about telling your story, telling each agent's story on Instagram or whatever. You also tell the story to your team with very specific examples of successes and life changes of people on your team. And when you do that, now your team learns to tell the stories too, and they go out and tell the stories. I think you've done that really well. Okay, final question. I feel like we have another whole hour we could do, but the last question is specifically for our ops people. Okay. What can operations do to support their team in recruiting? We have had coaching clients who have been told by their rainmaker, I need you to go out and recruit 5 agents this month. What can they do? How do you see that relationship?
Oh, this is an unpopular topic. Are you looking for the unpopular answer, or?
I want the honest answer.
Okay, because I might get in trouble. I
want the Heidi Adelina honest answer.
I mean, like the honest answer is like, I think that's my job. I think recruiting is my job, and I think retention is my staff's job. But that's my answer. Okay, but I do have support from my operations team. Like, this is not a party of one in any way, shape, or form. The appointments are a party of one, but the template responses to Indeed ads, right? Like, that would be super helpful. I think scheduling on the calendar is super helpful. Sending those KPAs, the discs, the offer letters, the onboarding, like, that is super helpful. Like, all of that needs to work together. But the actual conversations, I mean, I am a big believer that this is my freaking business, so I'm gonna recruit to my business. But you know, I mean, that's very unpopular. One thing that I thought of that could be smart is, and I think anybody could do this. It could be any of your agents. It could be operations staff. It could be the recruiter. It could be team leader. Career nights once a month. Like, that is just the smartest thing, because it's plug and play. You do it once and then you do it the same every single time. And then you talk to people who are considering a career in real estate. It's 1 hour of your time. I never have food and drink at it. Like, people aren't coming for that. People are coming about a career, not about like a happy hour.
And in the beginning, you did the career nights and you might only have 1 or 2 people show up, and you were okay with that.
Oh my God, one of my favorite stories is Brandon in San Antonio. He wanted to be me, which was awesome. And 5 years later, he did become me. Yeah, he came and it was the worst career night I think I've ever done. I only had 2 people there, but he was one of the ones.
And how much money, can you say, how much money did Brandon make last year?
I mean, I don't know, like
6 figures, multiple 6 figures.
Oh yeah. Oh, like every year has been a 6-figure year.
Yeah. Okay.
He's been.
If you guys have questions, drop them in there. The last thing, and we're not going to get to all of our questions, but the last thing I want to ask you is, you made tons of mistakes. What mistakes did you make that we can learn from so we don't make them? Now that you didn't know 6 years ago, because you're at a different place than you were 6 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so probably one of the biggest ones is the hiring process includes the first 90 days. I used to let them have free reign. After they're on the team, they're on the team, and then I feel bad about letting them go. Stupid. It takes 90 days to determine a baseline for people's behavior, right? If at any point in those 90 days, the behavior that I thought I was hiring isn't the correct one, isn't the one that's showing up, I deselect them out. Like, I'm very passionate about doing it the right way now. The 90 days launch period is not automatic that you're going to forever be on our team. Too often, I would let things go in the past, and then they'd come back and bite me a year later. Like, I'm just prolonging the inevitable. The other thing would be sometimes when people would set a big goal, like 100,000 in their first year, and then you look up and they're doing the activities of $30,000 in their first year. I wouldn't have that conversation early enough with them. And then they would feel bad that they didn't hit it, and they'd blame it on the team instead of themselves. So now, got to be proactive about that. Another thing is, if they want 300,000 in their first year, that is unrealistic. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't know. I guess you could be in a crazy part of the country, but just being real with people, when you have yellow flags, you do not move them through. You talk about the yellow flags. You live 45 minutes from the office. How do you see this working? You drop your children off at school at 8:30, and we start at 8:30 every morning. Who else can drop off your children? You cannot do open houses because you just told me your weekends are unavailable. Are you willing to prospect double to make up for that, right? Have the hard conversations on the front end before you hire them. That's what I would do different.
Last question. Talk to me about lone wolves.
I don't care how good someone will be if they don't work well on a team. They're just not going to be for me, right? I am an ambitious, driven, hard driving, but very collaborative person. If someone is not collaborative, if they just like to do it on their own, that's not somebody that's for us, for my team, because they're going to believe that the success that they've created is a reflection of them versus a reflection of our partnership. It's going to put you in a lose-lose partnership, and you're not going to be able to salvage that.
How do you see that in your interview process? What does that show up and look like? Someone who's a lone wolf. What do they say?
You can notice it in their ego. You can notice that everything that they say is about I versus we. You can notice it that often lone wolves like are very hard driving and ambitious, and it is all about them, right? Like, what's important to you? Tell me about your values. And there's never anything about anybody else but themselves. Like, that's not a person for me.
Okay, I am going to respect your time. I could go on for another hour. I know our people could have more questions. Thank you so much. How can people send referrals to Ben Kinney team in Texas? Pretty much anywhere in Texas you can send them, I think.
I think so. So Adelina@benkinney.com. And seriously, if you're ever in Austin, where I'm based, just hit me up. I'd love to meet you in real life.
That's right. Send your recruits to
that too. That'll work.
Right? Exactly. Thank you guys so much. If you want to listen to this back so you can hear the scripts and pick up all the golden nuggets, our wonderful ops boss Sheila will have this posted in May. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a fantastic week, and message us with your results and what you're implementing. Bye guys.
Thank you, Christy.